Speaking of smaller parties, ZAPO won't be closing shop anytime soon. At least that's according to the party's Director of Elections, Kabelo Bokala. ZAPO has failed to attract voters in this year's election. Bokala says the party will work on a strategy to grow its followers.
As long as black people are there and their issues are still on the table, as long as the land issue is still on the table, there's no shutdown. You'll recall that we are not coming in yesterday. We've been in the struggle long before 1994, and therefore our issues are still on the table.
Right, as we wait for the final votes to be counted, let's find out what's happening on the floor where Michael Apple is standing by. Michael, we can see on the leaderboard there that just over 1.2% of national votes are still outstanding. However, when we were speaking to Kaelihle Khumalo from Auckland Park at the Gauteng Provincial Counting Centre a little bit earlier, he was saying that 10% of Gauteng votes are still outstanding, which just shows exactly what large number of voters are based in Gauteng and the impact that has on national statistics.
Yeah, that's right. A very densely populated province is Gauteng, and I'm looking at it now on the IEC app, it's 89.39, let's call it 10% of the votes are still outstanding in Gauteng. And that is the only province that's being watched closely at the moment. It's the only province in which there can be any movement that's going to have the ANC on tenterhooks, as they're currently on 50.4%. We know they need to get 50 plus 1 to be able to take this province convincingly. Democratic Alliance sitting on 27.5%, the EFF on 14.4% in Gauteng. It's been a day of drama, it's been a day of jubilation for some, it's been a day of heartbreak for others. I did the calculation there based on the numbers on the board, and if we assume that it takes, let's call it 45,000 to get a seat in Parliament, there are only 11 parties out of the 48. That is 37 of these political parties that are going home empty-handed and without the deposits that they have paid to the IEC. So that is food for thought for some of the parties, the much smaller parties. And speaking about the smaller parties, of course, we had the 27 parties saying that they're going to legally challenge the freeness and fairness. It's got to do with the indelible ink, the double voting issue, the IEC coming back to South Africa much later than was expected. Shahan being told at 5 p.m. we'd have some idea, but several hours after that, the IEC briefing the nation saying that they're going to take on this legal challenge, and a deadline has been set for Saturday by which they want an assurance from the IEC that an international forensic auditor be appointed as opposed to Statistics South Africa. The Statistician General has identified 1,020 voting districts that's going to form part of the sample audit, where they're going to check whether it is isolated or systemic double voting, triple voting, multiple votes, whether that is even possible. The IEC maintaining that their security measures are sufficient and that those who appeared the multiple people, up to 20 people, over 20 people that were arrested for alleged voter fraud. Some of them, the evidence was simply that they had posted on social media that they had been able to, but the police and the IEC maintaining that nobody was actually able to do it, and it was just the threat or the social media post that was put up. That was evidence enough for them to be taken into custody. It's going to be very interesting to see whether that legal challenge is going to go ahead in the Electoral Court.
As we wait for the outstanding Gauteng results, the ANC will be waiting in its fair bit of nervous anticipation, because in 2016 in the local government elections, people in the two metros, Tshwane and Johannesburg, gave the party quite the nasty surprise.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it changed hands in Tshwane, in Johannesburg, Nelson Mandela Bay. So one can imagine that the ANC put a lot of work into trying to maintain and secure Gauteng. It's the economic heartland of South Africa. 40% of our GDP is generated here. It is psychologically a massive blow to the ANC if they were to lose control of Gauteng. So it's going to be nervous moments as the final just under 300 voting stations, 10% of Gauteng's votes come in.